So as everyone knows, the theme of today's show is things we love. Now, one of the things I absolutely love doing is visiting my sister Candace in her studio. Who could not love this? What are we looking at here?
Oh, right behind us is a mosaic, but behind that are all the herb jars. We have over 200 types of herbs here, and we have 60 kinds of herbal teas, and we do nothing but have fun making herbs all day along with our crafting.
One of the things we need to think about in things we love is actually loving ourselves and nurturing ourselves. Candace has a rose petal salve that I absolutely love. And you've been making this for a while and selling this at your studio.
Yes, I have. And rose petal represents love, so that's the best herb to use today for the salve because roses are love.
You're going to show us how you make your salve?
Absolutely. Let me share my recipe for rose petal salve. You're going to need 3/4 of a cup of almond oil, 1/4 of a cup of jojoba oil, 1 pinch of alkanet, and I'll tell you what that is, 1 cup of rose petals, 1/8 of a cup of beeswax, and some rose essential oil. Now, rose petal salve is great for chapped skin, chapped lips, blemishes, rough hands and elbows, diaper rash, and for your lips and under your eyes. So this is fabulous salve for all your skin needs. The greatest thing is it's easy to make. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is take a pot. We're going to use a pot today, but you should do this in a crock pot because the crock pot does not have to be watched, and you're working with oils, so you don't want to have something on the stove. But today we already have something in the crock pot that's finished, our finished product. So today we're just going to show you how to put this together. So this recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup of almond oil. And this is almond oil. Pour our almond oil in. We have a 1/4 cup of jojoba oil. Those are your oils. You put them in your pan first, and then you would heat up your crock pot. Don't heat the crock pot up first, and then put your oils in, and then we're going to put our herbs in. We're going to be using roses. And we're going to do a cup of rose petals. These are pretty much whole little rose buds, but this works just as well. This is alkanet. This is a dye plant, and this will turn the salve a really bright, pretty red. The rose petals will give it some sort of a pink tint, but this will give you a red tint. So we're just going to add a pinch of this because this is really red. So we're just putting a pinch of alkanet in. That's as easy as it is to start with. All we're going to do now is heat it up. So this will be in your crock pot. You're just going to put the lid on, and you're going to cook this for 3 hours. Okay, our salve has been cooking in the crock pot for 3 hours. So we're at the point now where we're going to strain out the herb material. You need hot pad holders because it's very hot, and you're going to need a coffee filter, a strainer, and a glass measuring cup. This is all very hot, so you want to make sure you have the proper tools. And you're going to pour your salve mixture into your coffee filter. You want to wipe off because this crock pot's hot. You don't want the oil down in your crock pot. Okay, now this is going to sit here and strain. It takes a little while, maybe 20 minutes, for all the oil to drip through the coffee filter and just leave the herbs. So when this is fully drained through, you kind of just put the coffee filter together, and you're going to push down till you get all the oil out. Thank goodness. Now usually this is very, very hot. It's not quite as hot. Normally you couldn't touch it as quickly, but that's the process. And this is your salve ready to go back into your crock pot. So at this point, we have our salve, but it's not thick. So in order to make our salve thick, we're going to use grated beeswax. Grated beeswax is great because it's already grated. If you've ever seen a chunk of beeswax, you have to take a hammer to it. So you always want to buy it grated. We're just going to need 1/8 of a cup, and we're just going to put it into our salve. Now I use a little toothpick to stir it because you don't, first off, it's very red from our alkanet. And all we're doing is trying to get the beeswax to melt into the salve oils. And this takes very little time, but you want to make sure you have it totally melted. We have a few herbs in here today, but if you would do it too fast and it's not melted, then it's not going to firm up the way it needs to. Now that our beeswax is melted, you can see it's all clear. There's no little floating pieces of beeswax in it. We're going to add our rose essential oil. And rose essential oil is very expensive, so you don't use too many drops, but you do want, if you can, to put a few drops of rose oil. Rose oil also comes in jojoba oil, and it's much cheaper. And we're going to pour the salve into another container so we can pour it into our little jars. If you try to pour it out of the big crock pot, it's very hard to pour. So let me move this over, and we're going to pour our salve mixture into the measuring cup. And then we're going to bring over our little jars, and you can use any size jars you want. And it's already starting to set up. I don't know if you can see, but the beeswax is already starting to set up. So you don't have much time. And you want to pour each little container full. And that's all there is to it. It's all done. It's already setting up. All you need to do at this point is let it set up and put a lid on it. Remember, the reason that we put the beeswax into the oil mixture is that we want the salve to be thick. So it's not salve unless it has beeswax or cocoa butter or something in it to make it thicker. So that's all there is to it, and we just cap it, and we're ready to go. And it's usable immediately.
Well, Candace, you make this look so easy.
And it was so easy. I just showed you how to do it. It's very easy.
But for those of us who don't have all of these supplies and essential oils and alkanet, fortunately, Candace sells this at her studio.
I do, and we will make it up for you if you don't want to make it at home.
Here we go, the test. Ah, I love your rose petal salve. Thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, thanks for inviting me.